That's the one I just followed. So first followers.
All right, good morning and evening and afternoon, everyone, wherever you are, or very early morning if you're in Europe. We are back for another episode of your favorite, boomer age podcast or middle age gaming podcast. Where we talk about games, life, philosophy, pretty much everything under the sun. Today, as usual, we are going to talk about games we've been playing for a little bit. Then we're going to get into today's topic, which is inspired by me, I guess, I think. Grindy games, games with repetition, as much as that may sound immediately boring, and I can hear you hitting the snooze alarm. But no, it's actually pretty interesting. Just again, depends on your personality type. But before I start rambling on too much, we're going to go with Antoine, and he's going to tell us about Horizon Forbidden West, which I have already listened to for 10 minutes.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. So, still on Horizon, same as last week. Only difference is that this time Adam overtook me quite a bit, so he's the one who's gonna have to avoid spoilers. And I wanted to add a lot of things about what we said last week, except that we already talked about with Adam, about it with Adam, for a good 10-20 minutes. So nothing to say anymore. So thanks and good night. Anyway, okay. No, no. We're just saying how good this game is, of course, and everything they added compared to Zero Dawn, and which of course increase the number of hours of the game that you will have to play, of course. But it's not just to extend the longevity of the game. It's really really fun. Like just now, I just finished my second race, gauntlet race. I think Adam started to play a little bit of Machine Strike. I think I did like I beat it two guys. Um, I started having fun with all the dice that you can do. I don't think you could do this in Zero Dawn, but do a bit more, give a bit more personality to Aloy. Um, so many things they add, and I really like. I am at what 66% of the game, according to the game itself, and I didn't even saw all the machines. I just discovered the one right now. So as usual, I'm like in awe in front of this game. Guerrilla did a fantastic work. They didn't just rest on their laurels and do it's okay. Horizon is bankable, and we could just do an extra game, just like do the bare minimum, get lots of profit. No, no, they really really worked on it, and you can feel it. Even though I just clipped into another wall, damn it. But there's less and less bugs. It has been, I think we had a one or two patch since last week, which really corrected things. And as soon as I say, yeah, it's completely fixed, I just clipped in a wall and unable to move. Good thing I had some travel packs so I could go to the nearby campfire. But yeah, it's gonna get fixed eventually. So Adam, without spoiling, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. I've finished every side mission I've found, and I've finished all the errands I've found. So the only thing I have left on my docket is I think the final mission. It's either the final mission or the second to final mission, but I'm getting right up close to the end. I've done all the races and whatnot, and like you were saying, it's much better, but there are still some bugs. I remember when I was doing the last race, and right from the beginning, because you kind of start in the back and everybody starts on lines on either side of you. And right at the beginning, I ran forward and everybody closed in and it pushed me under the ground. And so it pushed me under the ground. And then it was like, okay. So I lost that race, but
Get buried.
yeah, those are rare bugs. So but yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. And so I don't know why I did this, but when I started off, I was like, I'm just going to play this game on my own time. And then I guess I was having so much fun with side missions that I was like, well, I got so much to do. I'll just save the main missions for on stream. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, now I'm only going to do main missions on stream. So I was like, oh, I could finish it. And I'm like, no, I'll wait for the stream. So I'm just going around and getting some of the extra stuff, leveling up my things and whatnot. So yeah.
And I haven't seen the machine he talked about. I just saw a machine which is some kind of Spinosaurus machine version. And Adam was just telling me, have you fought it yet? I'm like, no, you will see there's a lot of Godzilla in it.
There's there's a lot of Godzilla in it. It's yeah, it's supposed to be a Spinosaurus, but then you watch it, and if you've seen Shin Godzilla, you're like, yep, okay, I see the inspiration there. It's pretty obvious.
And something that I wanted to say, remember when I say they added a lot of extra stuff, but what I wanted to really, what I really enjoyed, that in the first game, Zero Dawn, I found the cauldrons very repetitive, kind of annoying in the end, because it's always the same. You follow a corridor, jump a few times, have a big boss. In this one, they made it fun. Every cauldron, there's not that many, but every cauldron is different. They found a way, even the giraffe, what's the name of
Tall
it?
neck.
The tall necks. Yeah, the tall necks. Even the tall necks are very different. I just did the one next to the last island of Spires. That's fantastic. They really thought hard of how to make this game not repetitive, despite having, like do tall necks of this region, do tall necks of this region, do the drones of this region 6-7 times, this stuff 6-7 times, and each time is different. So that's why I'm saying they did really think about it before they did the game, and that's why I really, like, I want to send a fan letter to Guerrilla and to the developers. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you. And you can do it. And even I didn't finish, of course, this game, and Adam didn't either. But if you have some occasion to do a third one, go ahead.
Yeah, I like the tall neck where you have to use the ballista to drag it down.
Of
That
course,
was just so
it was
different
one
because
of the
on
first
all the
one.
other ones you're climbing it, and this one's like, no, you have to weigh it down and bring it down and then and fix it. And I thought that was
Yeah.
really, really cool.
And
So
then the one
yeah,
to fix in the cauldron, and I just fix the one in the water. And there's still a tall neck at the not the beginning of the game, but there's a tall neck in the middle of some kind of African savanna,
yeah, and you can't
and
access it.
all I can't access it. No, I tried many times. I tried to jump from mountains, so everything. I spent an hour on it, literally, and all I can do is, nah,
There's a
can't climb
lock
the legs.
icon on it that should indicate that you can't get it yet.
Yeah, but I'm stubborn. I know that. I know that in Horizon, there's always more than one way to do it, even if you glitch the game, kind of.
Yeah, that one.
So I
there's no
try.
other way to do
I
it.
don't care. I'm gonna try, even if I glitch the game. I don't care. Well, in this one, I gave up in the end.
Yeah, that one is a plot point, so you're gonna have to wait.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really enjoying all that, and I also like the fact that this time around, in the first one, when you got a tall neck, it basically just showed you the entire map and it showed you where everything was. Whereas in this one, what it does is it takes out the cloud lining, but it's still kind of foggy in the area, and they'll tell you where all the machine sites are, but all the points of interests will be question marks. So you know something's there, but you don't know what it is. Whereas in the first one, once you got a tall neck, you knew where everything was. So I like that. I think that's kind of interesting because it still adds a little bit of exploration in there because you're like, oh, I know there's something there, but I don't know what it is. Is it a drone or is it a fire gleam or whatever? Yeah.
So that was our 2-3 minutes introduction on Horizon. Kriyan, you're supposed to stop us.
I was looking at the time. I already planned in my mind. I'm like, stop you guys at 9:30 a.m. Taiwanese time. So
Phew.
so don't worry. I'm on top of the time. So I was like, it's okay. It's relaxing to listen to English voices as opposed to Chinese voices 24/7. So yeah, thanks guys. So quick question for you guys. So Adam said he's almost finished, and Antoine said maybe like, but you're gonna 100% the game. So actually,
Yes.
technically, you could be finished already. Adam is the same. So
Oh, of course, I could have rushed the main mission, but what's the point?
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so until you guys 100% the game, what's the estimated number of hours left?
I don't know what
Maybe.
percent I'm at, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
No,
Antoine, you said 60-something%, so maybe another 20 hours to 100%.
or more.
Oh my
I
God.
was thinking more like 40.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know what goes into percent because I mean there are definitely some.
It goes everything, all the collectibles, all the camps, rebel camps, all the, ornaments, gauntlet race, drones,
Okay.
everything like this.
I've done all
Yeah,
those.
all the main main quests, side quests, errands, cauldrons, everything.
Okay.
Basically.
Because I've done all those, but I've definitely not upgraded like all the armor and all the weapons and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't think they
Upgrade.
would
I don't
include that
think
because that would take
no.
forever.
Upgrade they won't include it, but
Okay.
I think they would include the all the machines. You know that you can like for instance the burrowers. There's like 10 different subspecies of burrowers. I think you need
Oh,
to complete this catalog. I think you need to complete all the stuff to scan.
okay. I know
Uh,
as far as trophies go, I only have 3 left, but one of them's a platinum, which I'll automatically get once I get the other 2. So,
yeah. So
and one of them's complete
finish
the final mission, and the other one is use dyes to create a new dye. I don't know.
machine strike stuff.
No, I've
Finish
done the
all the
machine
machine
strike
strike.
one. You only have
You
to beat
finished
like
them?
2 of the machine strikes, I think, to get the trophy.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to do
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
them. Same with the races. You only have to
Oh.
do 2 races to get the trophy. You don't have to do all 4.
I don't care if the platinum is not telling me to do this. I'm gonna do it anyway. That's not 100% if you didn't kick their ass.
Well, that was one thing that I heard when Guerrilla was doing this is they wanted the game to be more accessible in terms of trophies. So, like some other games, they might have like a trophy for beating in a hard mode. Like for example, I think Witcher 3 has one if you beat it on Blood. Oh, was it Death March or something like that?
Zero Dawn too, I think.
At Zero Dawn, you got one if you beat it on Ultra Hard, but the only way to do
Yeah.
Ultra Hard was on New Game Plus. But that was patched in later. That wasn't in the original game. But this one, they specifically said that they were not going to add any trophies based on difficulty. So there are no trophies based on very hard, which was one thing that when I started, I was like, I'm going to play it on very hard so I can, knock that trophy out right away. But then later on heard that and I was like, oh, well, why am I playing on very hard? I should just play on
somehow
normal.
it's logical. It's logical because it's really a game of exploration and enjoyment, a bit like a Breath of the Wild. It's not something you should try hard like a Dark Soul.
Yeah, so they wanted it to be accessible and they wanted everybody to be able to platinum it. So that was actually one of the things is right away they were like, we don't want platinum to be this elite thing that everybody that only the the hardcore are going to get. We want platinum to be accessible to anybody that wants to get it. So if you enjoy the game and you want that platinum, we want you to have it. So
It's okay. I'm gonna do everything even if Platinum doesn't ask me to do it. So
Oh, yeah.
that's fine. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were talking about percentage-wise in terms of trophies or in terms of the game, because I know, like, for example, Mass Effect Andromeda had a thing in the game that said what percentage of the game you had completed, and I was something like 99%, and the only
Yeah.
thing I was missing was a missable thing. That would really piss me off. I was like, oh no, I missed something, and the only way to do it would be to play the game entirely over and just get to that point. And,
Just to confirm, Korean, I don't know if you may be confused on this. There's two things. It's like Andromeda. There's trophies on one side, and the game itself, which tells you the completion percentage. So you can have all the trophies and platinum, but you can be at 80% of the game, I guess. So
Thanks for explaining that. I thought platinum equaled 100%. But
no. Some games will actually tell you like that. Like Final Fantasy 7 Remake did the same thing, where they had, if you went into, I think it was System or something like that, and it would tell you game completion. And so they have things in there that aren't included in the trophies. So, but yeah, so it's like, scanning every single enemy and have you unlocked all the weapons and all that.
Yeah.
Which there were far fewer weapons in that, so it was much easier.
Okay.
So what have you been playing?
I've been playing Wasteland 3. I wanted to play last night, but I was working until like 11:30 p.m. and then a 12 a.m. meeting as usual. But thankfully, times have changed, so it's gone back to daylight savings time, which is not good for Antoine, but very good for me. But yeah, Wasteland 3 having lots of fun. It's gotten that I know when I enjoy a game, when I have the sort of addictive feeling, like I want to be playing it all the time. So I think I told Adam this last week when he very graciously appeared on the Amun podcast, that I dedicate at least one day of the week. Sunday is the day I'm going to get to play games for just 2 hours a day, as opposed to just the 1 hour a day I usually do. And It's really cool. Lots of like decisions that are questionable and stuff. Like um, this is spoiler territory, so if you're listening on the podcast, you might want to skip like 3 or 4 minutes ahead. No, 2 minutes ahead. I don't talk a lot, so skip 2 minutes ahead. Um, so in Fallout 4, I made the decision of siding with the robots because I'm a big robotics AI person, and I killed all the humans. Um, in Wasteland 3, I have done the same thing. There's a guy who comes like, man, there's these synthoids, and we should go kill them all. I'm like, no, those synthoids are nice people. You go screw yourself. I'm not going to do that. And so I'm sure that's going to have an impact later on in the game. But yeah, no, it's very cool. Combat's really fun. Lots of like inventory stuff, crafting. I'm only about probably like 10 hours into the game, and I heard this goes for like 40, 50 hours, depending on the quests and stuff you do. And it's got that sort of like Divinity 2, Witcher-esque sort of system where you can't go and do certain things until you are at a high level. So you can actually go there and just the enemies will just wipe the floor with you, which is kind of sucks, but it's kind of cool at the same time. I mean, I hated it when I played The Witcher the first time, but now I'm kind of used to it. So really cool, and it also runs like really well, like at 4K. If I had a monitor that did 4K upwards of 60 frames per second, that would be, it would probably run better. So definitely not a very intensive game, and yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it. And then I'm always scared after I finish a game like this, especially after the addictiveness takes over. I'm like, oh my god. Then after, I'm like, what am I going to play now? I don't know. And after you guys talk about Horizon Forbidden West, I'm like, I should go back to Zero Dawn. But man, just
right. You can watch Adam stream.
Yeah,
That's what I
the
did.
whole
Not just
game.
just main quest. Just a main quest.
Just the main quest. Yeah.
I know, but it's not. It's like it's too slow.
I get distracted and run off to the side.
No. It's not Adam's playing. Even the game itself, when I was playing it, I'm like, I should give this a try again. I should give this a try. But every time I'm like, oh my god, walking around, oh stealth, oh this just.
That's the fun of it.
No, there's no fun in stealth. Why would you want to be slow? Life is slow as it is, man. No, in a game I want to be fast, frenetic, violent.
That was one thing I really liked about Ghost of Tsushima is you're supposed to be this ninja and sneaky, but you could definitely just like run in and just kill everything, and it was way faster just to like throw yourself at the enemy than it was to sneak around. That was the safe way, but it was the slow way. And sometimes I was like up to a bandit camp and I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna run in and slaughter.
Just like in the Hitman games. Like in the Hitman games, I tried stealth. Eventually I just gave up in pretty much every mission and gunned like 32 people. I killed like 32 people, 25 people per mission. Just found a defensible corner and just let people come through the door, bang, shoot you, bang, shoot you. And eventually everybody was dead and I'd go and kill the person. I'm like, oh, that's the way it's supposed to work. Just like an action movie.
Here's your score, minus 300.
Exactly. But I got it done. All right, gents. So,
well, I genocide the whole guys over there, but I killed the right guy.
Exactly.
Success.
Yeah. All right, Adam. What is your game about repetition, about grindiness, about good or bad? What do you think?
It depends on the game. Okay, so for example, I played for a while Destiny, and that game was kind of grindy in a way. I mean, you had to get materials on top of materials on top of materials, and you had to sometimes do these missions where you had to kill certain guys or something like that. And I did not particularly enjoy the Destiny form of grinding because it was very RNG based. You had to kind of get lucky with drops. And if you didn't get lucky with your drops, then it could take forever. World of Warcraft was very much like that as well. I remember back in the original, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's that different now, but I think it's better. But in the original, it was 100% RNG. There was no kind of safety net. I think a lot of times games now will give you a safety net where they say like, okay, it's RNG, but you're guaranteed to, they have like the pity roll, like what a lot of the gacha games have now. If you don't know what a pity roll is, it's when you, like for instance in Genshin Impact, the strongest characters are 5 stars, and you have like a 0.2% chance of getting a 5-star character or whatever. I don't know what exactly it is, but you have a chance of getting a 5-star character. But of course, with those odds, you might never get one. So they have what's called a pity roll, where after 100 rolls, or within 100 rolls, you're guaranteed to get a 5-star character. So if you get a 5-star character, then it'll reset to 0. But if you reach 100 rolls without a 5-star character, your next roll is guaranteed to get a 5-star character. And I think a lot of these MMOs have kind of switched to that now, where it's like, okay, there's like a maybe a 25% chance this enemy will drop it, but if they don't drop it in 3, that third one is guaranteed to drop something. So I think they've improved on that. I think that's what things do now. But still, like when any time a grind is based on RNG, I think that's just terrible design. Because it does get repetitive, and it gets very frustrating, because you're like, I'm doing this and I'm getting no reward. I'm doing this and I'm getting no reward. And the fact that it is RNG, some people are going to blaze through it, and other people it's going to be a huge slog. And it just feels like it's artificial difficulty. They're just doing that to pad it out and make the game longer. They don't want to give you something to do. It's just easy programming to be like, oh, well, you're not guaranteed to get it, so you just have to do the same thing again. So yeah.
What do you think about RNG?
I'm not a fan.
About RNG or grinding?
Let's go RNG first.
I hate it. That's it's the same in Warcraft. There was a website which tells you I was a wizard, and specifically a ice wizard, before there was the dual system and everything. But I knew there was this mob which have 0.x% to drop these stuff that I really want, and spend days on it with, of course, I never got it. And as Adam said, that's just bad design. It's not fun. You're not supposed to. It's an MMO, so you're supposed to spend your time a bit. But on any other game which is RNG based, that's not fun. It would be fun if it's an RNG that you're playing a tabletop game, for instance, and everything is based on RNG, because it's fun, because that's the point. But if it's not the point of the game, like gacha, I can understand, because they can't just distribute like these 5-star characters, and it needs to be fair. But I'm not a big fan of RNG.
Yeah.
So I mean, do you guys think? So we'll go Adam first. Do you think that the point of RNG and grinding, in the example that Adam just gave, and for WoW as well, Antoine, you mentioned, was that it's less about the RNG and more about the camaraderie, about playing with your guild or playing with your friends, and say, okay, I mean, we're playing the game, but we're actually just hanging out, chatting, that sort of stuff. Is it like that, Adam?
I mean, everybody's going to get something different out of it. If you're doing it for the gear, it's going to be very irritating, because you're trying to reach a goal and you're not getting it. Whereas if you're doing it from the camaraderie and you're just, it's like, if I get it, I get it, that's fun, then it's not so bad. It's kind of like, I think Final Fantasy 14 is pretty good in that the way they do it is, say for instance you want to get certain mounts, you can get them from certain bosses and they'll drop a mount. But what'll happen is, each time you defeat a boss, you're guaranteed to get a totem. And after so many totems, you can take the totems to a vendor and you could buy the mount using those totems. So if even if the mount never drops, then you could still buy it after a certain number of attempts. But in that case, I mean, usually what they do is they make the rate is fairly low, and then when that content becomes old, they up the rate of the drops so that you're more likely to get it. But I think a system like that is better for camaraderie, because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm guaranteed to get it, so I'm not so like irritated if I don't get it right away. Whereas otherwise, if you're going for a long time, if you're doing it for your guild and everybody in your guild has a certain weapon except for you, and then some of these other people want to move on and do other things, but they have to keep repeating the same thing just so that you can get it, that can be irritating for you because you feel like you're holding everybody back. It can be irritating for them because they want to do new content, but they have to kind of carry older people. So with RNG, I think that's If you're just doing it for the camaraderie, yeah, it's fine. But I think I still think it's bad design.
Antar, what about you? What's your take on RNG and grindiness? Is it for friends? Is it a psychological thing? Is it maybe a fault on the part of the developers, the engineers who make the game?
Do you remember in Warcraft where you had this 40 people raid? Why do you think it disappeared? It's because there's no camaraderie in this. It's everybody yelling at each other
And then ninjaing.
and ninjaing, So that's why it disappeared, because now in FF, yes, you can have your guild and a group of friends, and it's what, 8 people max, I think.
It depends on the
So-
content. There's 4 people content, 8 people content, and 24
But
people
the
content.
the hardest. Oh yes, there's 20 people. Yeah.
24.
But if you want the best gear, I think like the Eden, Sadiq or stuff like this, with 8 people, which is like a good size guild already. You can play and have fun, and even though you need to be regular, and for me it's not fun. If you like this kind of content, good for you. For me, I'm like,
Guilds were
So
only
that's
8
the-
people?
No, a guild, not a guild. The
No,
content,
no.
the fights.
the fights,
okay.
the raid. The raid is 8 people because you can play with your guild and make it much more enjoyable. And you can find 8 people to play regularly with. Like 40 people, that's of course you won't know everyone, and you gonna have clashes. With 8, it's much more manageable, and that's why I think it went down to that. Even though it's still not for me, I just don't like the system of RNG. I really like to finish the story. I beat this boss, give me my reward, thank you, and don't give me crappy reward at 80% and super good reward at 5%. No, I beat the boss. I want my sword. Give me.
So, Antar, what do you think the logic is? Why did designers implement, RNG going back? Like, I mean, we're older.
Oh,
It was
that's,
not.
that's ju-
Yeah, go ahead.
That's just a way to. Can you imagine if you play with your group of 8, you finish the dungeon, and everyone gets a weapon? Dungeon is finished. It's for replayability. And they make it so that oh no, I didn't get it. Okay, guys, let's do it another next Tuesday at 8, and let's raid for 2 hours. Oh, this guy got it. Congrats. Next week again. Let's restart. And then so on and so on. It's just because they don't want the game. They want the game to last. And a mechanic to make a game last is to give the good rewards, like a drop by drop. You can't just give everything at once. So it's not really bad design, because look at how many people play Warcraft, how many are playing, FF and everything. There are people enjoying it. Good for them. It's just not my stuff.
But don't you think, engineers, people who do programming and art and stuff, they're pretty smart. They probably would have anticipated the frustration, maybe the losing
Of
people's
course.
interest. So, why did
And
they
the-
implement such a system going back 10 years or more than that when games
Because-
started to have RNG?
Because these guys have a very good imagination, and they implement new content at a very regular interval. They know that people are gonna rush this particular raid for, I don't know, let's say a month, maybe 2. After that, after 2 months, they're gonna be, what else can I do? This one is getting very old. And they know that for the hardcore gamer, maybe 1 or 2 weeks will be enough. For casual gamers, maybe 3 to 6 months, will be enough for them to get tired. So they just cut into and say every 3 months we release new content with new dungeons, so that like the hardcore can play on something else while the casual slowly catch up. And that's why like a Final Fantasy has a major release every 2 years. The hardcore gamers are gonna play 6 months, to finish all the content within this major release. They have patch 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 to make sure that they come back at regular interval, that they don't forget the game. While the casual, they will need the full 2 years to do the whole content. And so everybody's happy. It's just they try to keep the gamers interested, and this RNG is a mechanic to do that.
So, Adam, what's your take on the logic behind the emergence of RNG and this grindy nature in a lot of multiplayer games?
I think it's just the natural evolution of games. I mean, before video games, we had D&D and we had tabletop games, and if everything was kind of a flat way of doing it, it's basically just chess. So a way to kind of vary things up in D&D, they use dice, right? And everything was done on dice rolls. So you have basic attacks, you have your critical attacks, and it just kind of makes the game a little bit more exciting if you can get a crit every now and then, or flub something and miss every now and then. And I think when video games started first coming out, I mean, I think even some of the old, like Warcraft 3 or something, they even had dice rolls on some of the attacks, right? So it would tell you an attack range. It can say an enemy, we can hit between here and here. And I think when we started getting into these multiplayer kind of live service games, then I think it just kind of, they were continuing off this as tradition. That's the way things had been done, and it had always kind of worked. So let's just continue with that. So I think it was just kind of that natural progression. And then, over time, they've fixed a few things, like, for example, having pity rolls, or having, you get some kind of totem or something every time you play so that you can unlock things, or the Monster Hunter route, where instead of, making things I think Monster Hunter still has some RNG in it, but making things a little more skill based. So, you get rewarded for completing certain tasks, like cutting off a tail, as opposed to just straight up killing it. So I think it's just kind of I think that was just the natural progression from tabletops, where it was just, that's the way we do it. It makes sense. We don't have to, why reinvent the wheel? And then, later on, when they did it, then they start seeing some problems with it.
All right, Jess, let's get into the details. So if you do have a grindy RNG repetitive game that you like, what is it and why, Antoine?
Again, I'm not a big fan of
Not
grinding.
even zero. Do you have zero grindy games that you like at all in your whole life as a...
That I like to watch. Listen, grind for me is not necessarily RNG. Like, for me, the first grindy game I had were Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9. Like, for instance, you can finish the main quest at level, I don't know, like 60 or 65. But if you want to get this extra hidden boss and everything, then you need to take your guys to the hardest island and grind and kill enemies repetitively for 20 hours just to go to level 99 and have your max level.
that true, Adam?
You didn't have to be level 99, but sometimes, yeah, you'd have to take things off, to over level.
For the weapons in FF7.
Yeah. Final Fantasy is typically, the final boss is not the most difficult boss in the game. There's usually some sort of secret boss that's actually more difficult.
Sorry, Antoine, keep going.
No, it's okay. It was the same for another Final Fantasy, like, I forgot the name. Ocean. Star Ocean, thank you. Like the same, there was this 100 level labyrinth at the end, which was super tough, and I just couldn't beat one level, and I had to go grind for hours to get my my stats up. So that's grinding. That's not RNG, and that's literally, for me, bad design. Because if you have to do this, that's really annoying. Take Horizon, okay? Horizon, you have to grind, like the rest of everything. You have to upload levels and everything, but you don't see it happening, never. Because the story and the side quest and everything make it very interesting, and you never see your character level. I'm already level 44 now. I'm like, when did that happen? Oh, already? Oh, that's grand. And the only the only part which is grinding, and I'm sure Adam is gonna be will agree with me, is upgrading your pouch. For instance, it's hunting animals. It's not part of a side quest. It's not getting you any experience really. It's just literally just to upgrade the pouch. So it's annoying as hell, but you have to grind because it's based on RNG. You kill squirrels. Will you get a fur? Will you get a bone? Will you get nothing? And you grind. And again, that's the grindy part of the game, and it's annoying. After you have, I don't really play Soul game, but for instance, right now, I know I'm a very bad player of Soul games. That's why I would never play Elden Ring, but I love watching it. And the guy I'm watching spent the first 5 hours, and literally 5 hours of this game, in the front camp. He did literally, in terms of distance, he must have walked like 30 steps first camp, and he just keep killing the same enemies over and over to get their gears. And then when he's all geared up, he goes and he's strong enough to continue the adventure. I would never do that because I find it like, oh my god, that's so annoying. I killed this knight and he dropped the gauntlet 3 times and the footwear like 4 times. I don't want that. I want his weapon and his shield. I find that annoying. So I like to see other people, do it for me. That's why I like streaming this stuff. I don't want to play it because I know that I'm gonna get really pissed.
And what about you? Do you have a favorite?
In terms of grinding, I would say it's something like the Monster Hunter kind of thing. Horizon Forbidden West and Zero Dawn kind of have this to an extent. This is something that I thought was an improvement on Forbidden West over Zero Dawn. Is on Forbidden West. On Zero Dawn, you would have to get machine parts sometimes. For if you want to buy something, it'll say like, oh, okay, you need a Thunderjaw heart, or you need this, or you need that. But if you broke a piece off of it, typically it would just be resources. You might know what kind of resources they are, but so if I knock this off, I'm going to get echo shells or whatever. But typically they would just be resources. But in Forbidden West, they've made it where sometimes a certain part of a machine is a resource itself, like a Thunderjaw tail. So if you can knock the tail off, you can get it. But then they make it so that if you kill it without knocking the tail off, the tail will be destroyed, and it'll tell you which components, how you get them. So it'll specifically say like this component is destroyed if the monster is killed. So you have to knock it off first. In other components, it'll say this component remains when the monster is killed. And the only way to get it is to not destroy that component. So the fact that it tells you how to do that and it's more skill-based and it's not RNG, I think that's a much better design because, you have a goal that you're going for and you have a way to get it and you're guaranteed to get it if you can complete the task. So I think in that sense, it's a lot better. There are still a few things that are RNG, like lenses and whatnot, but most of the things that you're going to need are not going to be RNG. And for example, some of the things you need, like Apex hearts, are if you kill an Apex, you're guaranteed to get a heart. So those things are good. A game that I thought was really good, or a design that I think is really good, is something like Witcher 3, where in Witcher 3, you got very little experience from killing monsters, almost none. But you got a lot of experience from completing quests. And because of that, you're actually discouraged from going out in the wild and just killing everything you see because there's very little reward to that. But you are encouraged to just focus on the story, get through the story, do that. And so in that way, it actually discouraged grinding, but in a way that's still kind of grinding because that's how you're getting your experience. And I think that is probably the better design, is where the grinding is done in the background. You're given a task to do, and as you do that task, you're naturally getting those levels or those materials in the background, as opposed to you need those materials, so you're grinding to get those, as opposed, yeah, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, Antoine, so as a person who hates the grind, hates RNG, if, somebody, some designer somewhere is like, Antoine, I'm going to make a game for you. It still has grind and RNG, but what would make it perfect for you? Like, how could they fix the grind for a player like
you? Fix the grind. Make it, well, I may not have the answer, but, as Adam said, they are already finding answers, like in FF14 with the totems, or Monster Hunter, and even Forbidden West, where the RNG is not based on just rolling a dice, but more like a skill. Do you have the skill to get what you want? Otherwise, yeah, I'm not a big fan of RNG, so it's gonna be hard. Like, unless it's a Dungeon and Dragon, where the core of the game is rolling a dice. And I'm gonna be the first one to laugh like crazy if I get a critical failure and die. Well, That's just how it goes, you know. I don't care. It's fine. That's because the game is like this. But again, grinding when it's done, when it goes organically with the game, because it's on side missions and you don't really see it happening, rather than uh, hey, go kill 5 wolf and go kill 5 stuff, or we need X amount of stones, which drop at 5% on this particular mob. Go die. Thank you very much. No, this is to be absolutely avoided. This is, maybe it was in okay in 2000 or 2010. This is just not okay anymore. It's just, I
So why
wouldn't
is
even
this
call
not
it
okay
lazy.
anymore? I don't get
It's
it because
maybe
both of you guys played WoW like crazy, and why were you guys okay with fetch quests of I will bring 5 sheep to me or harvest 10 flowers? Why are you not okay
because
with that now?
at the time I was okay with it, but not that long. I haven't played WoW that long. At some point, just get, you know, it's fun when it's a new mechanic and you accept it. At some point, it just feel like a lazy way to increase, you know, the life of your game. You know, if there's a good story and a good backing and a good side quest, okay, you know. If it's just I need again 10 stone and you have 5% chance drop on this particular monster, the hell, you're just making fun of me or something? That's not fun. I'm not having fun doing this. Absolutely not. In Elden Ring, I can understand the grind is because if you go with your basic armor, or you can even start with only your underwear if you if you're very courageous, you know you're gonna get killed. So you have no choice but to, you know, loot gear and improve yourself. That's just how the game is. That's just how souls work, and you have to accept the concept before you start the game. So if you're okay with grinding this way, that's fine for you. I'm not okay with losing my time on this. I have, again, that's again being a middle-aged gamer. I don't have time to spend 4 hours for one particular item. I need to be interested in story and chop, chop, chop. Okay, bring me to the story and keep me interested. And I want to see more and tell me more story and more gameplay and more things. I don't want to redo the same thing for 5 hours. I don't have time to do that. That's not interesting. I'm bored. No, I don't want that. Maybe when I was younger, I had a lot of time because I was a very bad student. Anyway, but I had time to do this. Maybe I found it fun at that time. Now it's just maybe a question of age, but that's just absolutely not how it goes now.
So what do you think, Adam?
I think it's a couple of different things. I mean, I think we've just evolved. Or gaming has evolved. I mean, it's kind of like if you invent, say, a cart with one wheel and it's a wheelbarrow, right? It's not quite stable, but it gets the job done, right? So you're like, oh, this makes my job easier. And then somebody comes along later and they develop a cart with 2 wheels, so now it's more stable. And you're like, oh wow, this is more stable, and now I don't have to worry about it tipping over all the time. And then later on, somebody invents a cart with 4 wheels, and now you don't even have to hold on to it all the time. You know, you can kind of it'll hold itself up and all that. You know, if somebody's still developing carts with 1 wheels, the only reason to do that is to save costs. And I think gaming's kind of done that, where back when we started doing it, it made a lot of sense because that's where we had built off of what we already had with, you know, D&D and tabletop games. And so it made a lot of sense, but we've since found better and more fun ways of doing it. So if you're still going back and doing it that way, it seems very like you're trying to just make it artificially difficult, or you're, you know, like there are other ways to make things difficult and fun. One of the complaints that I've heard about Elden Ring is the fact that in previous Soulsborne games, you would find a weapon in certain places. Things were in certain locations on the map, and you could go out and seek them out. But now you have to grind, and some people are finding that irritating because they're like, I really want this weapon, and I can't get it because it's all RNG based. That's not fun anymore. You know, and I think part of it is that, especially now, you know, everyone's so used to instant gratification that when you get what you want, you have that dopamine kick in your brain, right? So I think now that we can get all that with internet and stuff like that, you know, life is faster. And so if we're not getting what we want, we get frustrated much more easily. than we used to, and there's a lot more competition. I mean, when World of Warcraft came out, there were a few other online games, like I think EverQuest was still around, but that was basically it. But now there's so many MMOs. I mean, you have Final Fantasy 14, and then you have things like Black Desert Online, and you know,
Terra.
yeah, Terra. You have all these games now, and if you look at a lot of MMOs now, they're switching away from that from the cooldown, the kind of thing that Final Fantasy 14 and WoW do, where you click the button, cast a spell, click the button, cast a spell. You know, things are starting to get a little more action oriented. So I think that it's just kind of an older method of doing it, and I think there's definitely people who want kind of that old school feel to it, but I think overall it's just that, you know, we've found better ways to do it. So if you're not doing it in a better way, then why are you doing it? And it's probably just to make things last longer, especially now with live service. I think it's definitely kind of feels like this is a way to force people to continue playing our game, to prevent them from going to other games. You know, so if you finish all the content here, you can go and play something else. We need a way to keep people in here. Well, we could program, you know, really good content, but that's going to take time, and it's going to take energy, and it's going to take effort. Or we can just tweak this little percentage here to make a drop rate slightly lower. So they might have to repeat it an extra 10 times. You know, and then we don't have to change any content. And I think that's a big part of why they do it that way.
Very cool. Very interesting. Gentlemen, final thoughts about grinding repetition, Antoine?
Again, grinding is badly designed. Maybe it was accepted earlier, or when you had to grind just to finish the last hidden boss, because it's not compulsory. You can do the main story without it, and it's entirely your choice if you want to grind to beat the hidden boss, FF7, 8, 9, etc., etc. If grinding is pure RNG just to extend the life of your game, go and die, you know, over there, please. You can find a way to grind which is not painful for the players. And I think they are experimenting even now with Elden Ring, which is a brand new game, you know, like these are really always trying to find a way to, you need to grind, you need to improve your character, but is this a fun way to do it? If there's maybe something that others haven't thought of yet, I like to see, you know, them finding new ways to make the player have fun without grinding, or grinding but it's not that apparent, you know, that you have to repeat the same thing 70 times and spend 5 hours of your life just to get one specific item. It's just not fun.
Adam, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of changing. I don't think grinding is necessarily bad. I just think that maybe certain times it's used as a crutch to fill in content rather than actually playing the game. But for example, a game like, say, Sekiro, where you don't have leveling, you're the same level throughout the entire game. I think in that case, you know, like the grinding is more fun because the grinding is learning the game. You're not trying to out level something. You're not trying to get better at something. You're just experiencing it and improving yourself. You're not improving the character. And I think a game like that works out really, really well. So I think there's a place for it, but I think you have to make it fun. I think if grinding's in the background, it's not so bad. Yeah, and I like games now. A lot more games are doing kind of horizontal leveling rather than vertical leveling. So you're not necessarily making the character a higher level and stronger. You're just giving the character more skills so that you have more ways to play or more options to play. And I think that kind of makes things a little more interesting in a way, because you can go back and do old content, but you have new ways to engage with it, as opposed to just you're stronger and you're doing the same thing, you're just doing it better. So I think being able to engage in things in different ways. I think probably if I had to pick a game that I think grinding is pretty good, might be the Elder Scrolls games. You know, Oblivion, Morrowind, Skyrim. because there, instead of, it's not just, kill enemy, kill enemy, kill enemy, kill enemy. It's use your skill and you'll naturally get better at it, right? If you use more destruction spells, you get naturally better at destruction magic. That levels you up. If you want to be sneaky, you sneak around and you naturally get better at sneaking, but you get experience for doing that. So I don't think that system is perfect, but I think that kind of idea is better than, just kill this pig 100 times.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for the interesting discussion and viewpoints. And you guys echoed some of the points I agree with. And I think people who've been listening to this podcast already know what my point is, because I am the person who does enjoy grinding it for a bit, and I can do the same thing over and over and over and over, which is why, like in university, I ate cheese sandwiches for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like 3 months in a row. And people are like, "Aren't you bored?" I'm like, "No, I don't care." So that is it for today. Adam, do you want to give us a clue? Because Antoine chose last week's topic, I chose this week's topic. Now we're putting you on the spot to choose next week's topic.
I hadn't put any thought into this.
So give us some thought, and I will go through the sort of housekeeping messages, and then we can try and get Antoine to bed early so he does not have to work as a tired zombie tomorrow.
I will anyway.
Okay, so guys, housekeeping messages. Just so please subscribe to our socials. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Middle Age Gaming 2020. Antoine is going to subscribe as well. We only do one TikTok video a day. Maybe that will change in the future. Make sure you subscribe, because I do have a system now that we can check who subscribed to us on what particular podcast apps. So we'd love to see numbers improve there. We know we haven't been uploading regularly, but that is changing. We're pretty much going to be uploaded during the week, either Wednesday or Thursday, because I'm like at home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the whole day, unless I have to go do like an errand or something like that. Last thing is the podcast has changed the live streaming portion, at least. So if you do want to be in the audience, you do want to come and listen, chat with us, spend time, relax. We are podcasting 9 a.m. Taiwanese time Wednesdays. So that will be 9 p.m. Tuesdays, Canadian time, Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what it's called in Canada. Eastern Standard Time is what I know. And that is it. So the guy's going to be playing more Horizon Forbidden West. I'm going to be playing more Wasteland 3. Antoine is not streaming again yet. I am not streaming. Hopefully that will be happening sometime in the next 6 months. We'll get back to streaming. We'll see, just depending on Antoine's work, my work. Adam, as always, is a fun streamer. You should definitely watch him.
Try my best.
All right, Adam, that is as much leeway as I can give you for thinking about a topic.
I'm always on the spot. Yeah, I don't have anything.
Okay, so no worries. We will, as you guys will be subscribed next week, surprised next week. Please keep an eye out for that. We'd love to have you here. And guys, thanks again for coming in the morning. It's awesome. Thank you, Adam, for hosting. Thank you, Antoine, for staying up very late, despite being a dad and a very busy worker with a new job. And we will see you guys next week at the same time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.